critical to bring on somebody that can teach us 5 tips that can help us maybe not be so technophobic, maybe not be so afraid, and actually sit back and relax and know, you know what, if I need to do this in my business, rather than just dismissing it and ignoring it and procrastinating it, let's make a difference in my business by delegating it. So if you have to hire somebody else to do something to help you, this lady can tell you all about it and can teach you about it, and she can answer a lot of your questions. But first, let's hear her 5 tips today on how to grow your business using social media. Please welcome to the set Jean. Jean, thank you so much for being here today. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you actually do?
Okay, well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I do social media, and now that's a pretty big word, and it means a lot of different things. But what I do is I network online. So many of you have businesses that can go, nationwide or worldwide, and the internet allows us to do that. And it's no different than going to a WOAMTEC meeting and, meeting friends and talking with them. You do the same thing online that you would at a networking meeting.
I think that's a great analogy, because a lot of times people use social media just to post, just to post, just to post. And that's not networking. That's not creating a conversation. That's not building relationships. And what I loved at this last conference that we did is I actually saw people using like the WOAMTEC group page, for example, and having conversations, asking questions, sharing ideas instead of just selling, because nobody wants to be sold to. People do business with people that can solve a problem or fill a need. So they started relationships. And at the conference, I saw people like from Arizona meet people in Orlando, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's so nice to meet you.
Exactly.
Because they were developing relationships. So what tip would you give us as a way to build relationships using social media instead of just spamming the world via Facebook or something?
Well, I guess the biggest tip is to not be afraid, and to talk and to care about what other people have to say. So instead of, it is important to post. I'm not saying that posting isn't important, but it is more important to care about what others are posting. If you care about them, they'll care about you, and that's just the same at a WOAMTEC meeting or online. So if you go to their page, you can sign in as your business page and talk to them, and that's completely appropriate to talk to them about their information, not about yours, but about what they're saying on their page.
I think that's important. One of the things that I strive to do is find ways that I can help them fill a need, because that's what it's all about. People become engaged when you're helping each other fill a need or solve a problem. So I may look at what somebody does, and if I want to start a relationship with them, and let's say, this is far-fetched, let's say they sing, they're a vocal person or whatever. I may say, I want to connect with you. I'd like to learn more about what you do to possibly consider you for a conference. Let's say they do social media. I would connect with them and say, I'd like to find out more about what you do, so I could possibly have you on WOAMTEC Live. But that's connecting with them, but connecting with them in a way that they're going to say, oh, maybe she can help me. Maybe she can solve a problem. Maybe she can fill one of my needs. And that all of a sudden makes you an authoritative resource. And being a resource for others is going to help you get closer to your goals, because like you said, if you help them, naturally they're going to want to help you back.
Exactly.
So what are some of the other tips that you find business owners, struggle with, or some of your clients come to you with because they're having problems?
Well, I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that when you post something on your Facebook page that, everyone can see it, no matter who they are. Now, if you have your settings set to your friends or your friends of friends, those are the only people that can see it. So I think that fear is one of the biggest issues. And I know we're talking that's the personal side as well as the business side, but it's both. Facebook is both. So when we're talking about that, you have to be yourself. You have to build your personal side as well as your business page.
Well, let's talk about that, because I have talked to countless people on the phone who say, oh, I keep my Facebook separate from my business life. I don't connect the two. Do you think that's possible? Can you keep it separate forever? Can you live like this lifestyle and be this way in the business world, or have the two worlds collided?
Well, I think it's possible, but I think it's a really bad idea. And I think it's a bad idea because you're missing out on a lot of opportunities. Because when people get to know you as a human being, they're much more likely to want to use your business. Plus, I hear a lot from people that, well, I keep my personal separate. Okay, but my family, my friends, the people that I'm closest to, they care about my business. Mm-hmm. They want to hear about my success. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's a big mistake to not share those successes with them.
I think that's hugely important. And even from the other side of the coin, if you look at it where my customers, you know, when Jeff and I ran a photography business, or even now with WOAMTEC, you know, my customers are our members. And if they feel as though I really care about them, they're going to feel more invested. But if you keep it separate and you don't accept their friend requests, then you're telling them, hey, you're not really my friend. You know, you're just a client. You're just a number. You're just money. This is just a sale. And we don't have anything personal going on here. You know, this is business. And I think that that's a huge mistake. You know, when we owned our photography studio and we developed relationships with our brides to where they felt as though I cared about, you know, the shoes that they picked out and the jewelry that they wore and all the little details. And when they started having babies and I was there to comment on their children, they're more likely to stay paid retaining clients because they have become friends and now we're part of their family. And I think that that's huge, you know. And plus, just last night at an event that I was at, one of the attendees said her she said, you're about to see a picture of me from when I was 30 because I want the world to know how hot you were, Mom. And now what you have to keep in mind is now you're not going to be able to hide things because your kids are going to start posting things about you. And, you know, there is no, you know, behind closed door. You know, you are who you are. And I say do that with integrity. So give me another tip, maybe not Facebook related wise, okay, because I know there's so much more. You've got Twitter, you've got LinkedIn, you've got Pinterest. You know, tell me another tip that you find that that entrepreneurs need to take advantage of.
Okay, well, we'll talk about LinkedIn. And a lot of what we've already talked about holds true there as well. On LinkedIn, I hear often, well, I get requests from people I don't know. And I say, yay, that's good. I mean, isn't that what the point is to grow and to meet new people? And I hear that, well, sometimes they'll send me an email that is spammy or they're trying to sell themselves. And okay, and sometimes when we go networking in person, people don't do it really well. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they hand us their business cards and that feels like it's the only reason that they're there. But I say, let's talk about the people that are doing it right, not the people that are doing it wrong. And maybe help those people that are doing it wrong learn the right way. And, you know, go ahead and let them talk about their business and, you know, ask them questions about their business and then feel free to share about yours.
Absolutely. You know, I have found that people that do go with the business card psycho mentality, pushing their business cards in people's faces, they usually do that because they just don't know. You know, mm-hmm. They don't know how else to do it. So you're right. By encouraging people to start that dialogue and to get that running, I think is more effective. Once that dialogue started, then you can develop the relationship and you're breaking the ice and you're easing up their comfort zone. So if someone is coming at you in a sales format, you know, I have one member that says all the time that when she gets a constant contact blast that's just sales driven, that isn't educational driven or relationship building driven, she'll pick up the phone and she'll call them and she'll say, can I make a suggestion? Because I want you to be successful and I want your business to be successful. And this is how I'm feeling as the recipient of the blast that you're sending me, which is important. So give me one other tip that you can share with everybody in regards to social media.
Okay, well, first I want to add on to the piece that you just said.
Sure.
So I asked them, how is that working for you? How, you know, sending those emails, is that working? You know, how does it work now? And sometimes they're very, you know, they'll say that it works and then they'll do percentages and then I'll talk to them about what percentages could be and how many percentages of people they've actually alienated by doing it. So while it may work 5 times out of 200, you've actually upset 195 people. And so if those are numbers that you're willing to accept, that's great, but I wouldn't be willing to accept alienating 195 people. So one more tip about LinkedIn would be to be sure to join a lot of groups. Now, it is important that you check out the groups and that you make sure that the groups are active because you can only join 50. So you have to make sure you choose the right ones. But make sure that they're groups that are in constant conversations. When the people in the groups are talking to each other, they're going to want to connect to you. even when you send a request, one of the things is it's a group that we both belong to that you can choose. And so they want you to make those connections.
I think that's good, because once you find common ground with people, then that's how you start. That's the foundation of building a relationship, is you have to have something in common with somebody else. And that's when they're going to, like, the minute someone says, I'm a WOAMTEC member, you already have an alliance, you already have a sisterhood, you already have a way to pick up the phone and call any stranger in the nation and start a dialogue because of that foundation, because of that common ground. Now, I have to ask you, a lot of people don't take advantage of advertising via Facebook or LinkedIn. Do you feel as though it's important for an entrepreneur to actually invest in advertising dollars in any of those platforms? And what type of person would be the best kind of company to invest?
Absolutely. They, if they want to grow their business, worldwide or nationwide, they need to invest. You cannot invest, but it's going to take a much longer time frame. So you need to set a budget. It's really not expensive. You can do it quite inexpensively if you do it correctly. LinkedIn, it's relatively new, so I don't know how many people know this yet, but on LinkedIn, you can actually specify, I would like to show this only to the medical field. And so it finds everyone that you're connected to and their connections in the medical field, and you can target just those individuals with the advertising, so you can get very specific. I could just say chiropractors. I could just say realtors. So it's a great way to reach the people, reach your target that you're trying to reach, and build those connections much quicker.
That's awesome. Now, I know that there's some people out there. I did a business assessment the other day, and for starters, she had an AOL account still, so that was like a big red flag to me. But she was like, oh, I don't do social media. Social media doesn't work for me. And I was trying to, that's always a challenge for me. You tell me social media doesn't work, and I've got to prove you wrong. So I was trying to break down the walls for her. And in her situation, I started studying what people, I asked her, she was an attorney, I asked her what attorneys she most admired and would want to be like. And then I started social media stalking them. Like, I started watching what they were doing, how they were using YouTube, how they were using Facebook, et cetera. So I want to encourage people to take the time to research what other people that they admire, what other mentors in their field are doing. And if they're successful, and if they're one of your big mentors, most likely what they're doing is probably working, which is why you know them so well. If they weren't successful, then they wouldn't be somebody you would admire. But I know that there are people that are out there that are like, I'm technophobic. I don't have time for this, because they're a one woman show, running their business and doing everything. You could help them with some of that, and it's pretty affordable. So share with them some of the services that you offer nationwide.
Okay. Well, I offer the major platforms. So LinkedIn, Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, Google+, and YouTube. And basically, I get to know my clients personally and professionally, because as I've mentioned, I don't think you can separate the two. So I think it's really important that I know what is important to them so that I can speak through their voice. Then I become the client online. So actually, you could have a very little involvement or a lot of involvement. It's much more successful when you have a professional and you have the individual involved. You can have a much more successful campaign on any of the platforms.
Okay. So, and I know it's affordable because I've seen your packages and your pricing, and there are no contracts, which I like. I've worked with a lot of social media people, and we've had a lot of social media people on the show, actually, that teach things. But what I like about you is I can delegate. I can just say, pick up the ball and run with this, and be in control of how long I'm spending, how much money I'm spending, and what platforms that you're part of. Do you have any other tips or ideas or suggestions for our audience today on how to make the most? Well, we haven't mentioned Pinterest. What is Pinterest, and what would people use it for?
Okay. Well, let's talk. We have a lot of people that are watching that are direct sales. And so let's talk about that. There's the 3 different platforms. We have LinkedIn and Facebook and Pinterest. So which one should I be on? Well, not everybody needs to be on everything. But when you're in direct sales, you really do. Because you have 3 different levels. You have LinkedIn for your recruiting, you have Facebook for your parties and building, relationships, and you have Pinterest, which people are buying from. I mean, people are actually going there to shop and get ideas. So it's a place that you need to be. Pinterest is pictures. It's all about pictures, but you can also build relationships there by sharing other people's stuff, by favoriting it, by, it's not really called sharing there, it's called repinning,
okay,
but it's the same idea. And so the great thing on Pinterest is that Google has what's called duplicate information, and they garnish you for that. Pinterest doesn't have that. So you can have multiple boards that have the same kind of thing on them, so that when people search, they have a better chance of finding you. So you can get really, really specific. For instance, you wouldn't want to just say shoes. You would want to say pink shoes, or blue shoes, or red lipstick, or not just skin care, but age care, eye care. So you can have different boards for each product that you offer.
Okay, that's awesome. So I mean so it's more of a shopping platform, but also it helps with your search engine and your search rankings, which is really important. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I know that you're going to be giving away a social media review to somebody. So she's going to do a consultation where she's going to go online, she's going to review your social media, do a proposal, teach you what you don't do, which are not what you think you should be doing and that you're not doing, and kind of point out those little things and give you ideas and suggestions. That's awesome. Now, if somebody wanted to talk to you more, can you tell them how they would reach you?
Sure. They can, well, if you Google me at Social Genie, you're going to find me all over the place, of course, but I'm on Pinterest. You can go to Facebook. Social Genie is my Twitter. Social Genie is my handle. Or socialgenie.com. It's SOCIALGEANIE, because I know there's lots of different ways that you could spell genie, so it's JEANIE.
That is awesome. So check that out. And of course, you can find her via the WOAMTEC directory. If you log into the WOAMTEC website, you can definitely see her. But this is how the person's going to win. The first person to email her, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. So the first one, ready, set, go, right now, that sends her a message is going to win this free social media review. And we'll be able to connect with her and just pick up some pointers on how you can make the most out of your social media connections and relationships. Thank you so very much for being here today. It was a pleasure having you on the show. You provided a great deal of knowledge, and I do believe you were just a recent blog on WOAMTEC.com, right?
I was.
Okay, so if you haven't read her blog on WOAMTEC.com, make sure you do that too, because it was very informative and gave a lot of great information. And I have a feeling we might be able to get her to blog a few more times in the future, so make sure you continue to check that out.